On my mind, gotta hustle and grind. Financial literacy always on my mind. I'm stacking knowledge, no time to waste. Gotta invest smart, gotta keep up the pace. I'm reading books, learning all the tricks, studying the market, making calculated picks.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Reckless Ray Dinero, and we are back at it again for another Bag Talk episode. Today, we are going to be diving into my updated Q2 forward. So we've tweaked the portfolio a little bit. We're going to go into detail on the why, the how, and what I'm using to implement in both portfolios. I'll do a breakdown. Obviously, in my portfolio update, we'll do a breakdown of that individual portfolio, but we're going to talk about the ideology. So if you're wanting to get into the brain of Reckless Ray Dinero on how I'm adjusting, retooling, optimizing my portfolios actually, because it just makes sense. I'm like, there's no reason to have a less effective, less efficient portfolio and then one that's more efficient. So if you're ready to have that discussion, let's get ready to do that. But before we get into it, I want to make sure that we hit that like button. If you've been here more than twice, go ahead and hit that subscribe and formally join the Wolfpack. Also, don't forget to tap on that bell notification that's down there with the subscribe button and make sure that they are all on. I promise not to flood your feed. For those of you already a part of the Wolfpack, those of you who tap in with me, do not forget to share the video. That's all I ask. Free ways to support. We're not asking for any money. We're just documenting a journey over here. This is not financial advice. This is a dude talking to himself in a room into a camera that you guys are then watching on the back end. And then hopefully you're getting some sort of insight or some ideas for yourself. Because if I can do it, you can definitely do it because you're not sitting in a room talking to yourself. So let's jump in. What we're talking about today is I have drastically altered my portfolio and how I am moving forward with my strategy. So, what does that consist of? Basically, I have consolidated everything down. Now, I am horrible about doing too much. And I'm a victim of this myself. I start getting little ideas. I want to make a little play here. I want to make a little play over there. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to move here. I want to move there. I want to be a mover and shaker. Unfortunately, that is not an efficient way to invest because then you have pockets of money. I mean, even if it works, you have pockets of money that aren't focused. So since we are kicking over into a really focused, we're knocking out the debt. We've hit our 2,000 shares of msty, so we're ready to deploy on that because we should be at minimum getting around $2,000 a month at minimum, which is, that's something to work with. That's chunks of money. August, we're getting a double payment, so I'm expecting about $4,000 at minimum. We'll see how they do. I did not jump off the bridge and get rid of my msty shares, but I did considering, but that I'm not yield chasing, and those msty shares are sentimental to me now. So I'm keeping that vehicle because I got it to where it needed to be. It is done. And we're gonna just keep it rolling as is. But everything else, so all my portfolios, so I moved some stuff out of my income portfolio to help pay off my in-home banking debt. We got that knocked down. This first payment, we're definitely going to be making some waves with that. We're going to be taking a big chunk out of the debt. I'm looking at how I'm going to strategize that because I'm almost convinced that I should just move the whole chunk of debt into my income portfolio so that way I can then just let the dividends pay it down, and as it pays it down, just keep shoveling in more debt and do it that way. So that way it's kind of on autopilot. The only thing that I have to worry about is the money that gets moved out to go other places. But it's something that I'm mulling over, I might do it. I might do it. I think I might. But back to the strategy. So I had like a bunch of other stuff. We had our long-term holdings portfolio that we were trying to build out. We have obviously our in-home banking, which is its own living organism. So we will not be touching or utilizing those funds just yet, because they're now that they're producing income of their own volition. If I'm pulling out of it, I would rather pull out of it dividends as opposed to actual stock. Like I don't want to use the positions in and of themselves. But while we're on debt focus, we're gonna, once that loan is paid back, we got, I think, like maybe $400 more to get thrown back in there. Once that's paid off, we will be using that to service the external debts. We will be doing that. So that's going to be cool. But as far as the efficiency goes, I noticed this over in my Robinhood portfolio, because I was building out all those positions and I was like, oh, I'm going to have this waterfall down into this and do this, and I'm going to do this. So I had like a bunch of little positions in there, and I had some like $500 positions that I started up with. And, by the time this episode airs, this conversation will have been had already. So this is just kind of a refresher on those individual conversations, because I know some people tap in for certain conversations and certain people tap in for certain other conversations. But this is my strategy moving forward, and it will be replicated in both portfolios with different positionings, with one core foundation that you will have noticed by now. And so the conclusion that I came to is, I was like, well, I do want the weekly income. That was the whole premise of my Robinhood portfolio. Was I was like, I'm going to relegate myself to actually test and experience weekly income. And we did it for a quarter, and I liked it and I didn't like it. I like it in the sense that every week you're getting money. The issue is you're breaking up a larger payment into smaller payments. So now you have a smaller payment every week. And for me, I function on being able to navigate with a chunk of money. So a little chunk of money is not effective for the way that I like to move money. Like, I like to have at least $500. Just being honest. Like, that's me. Like, if I'm going to make moves on an investment, I want between $100 and $500, to be honest. Like, at minimum. Like 100, I'm kind of meh, but like at least most of the stuff that I want to buy, even my expensive ETFs, it's around $100. It takes a lot of money to strum up to $100 weekly. Now, it can make up to $100 for the month, but if I'm seeing the money roll in, now it's burning a hole in my pocket. And for the way that my brain architecture works, that is not efficient for me. Like, it's actually almost borderline annoying, because then I got to get on there and buy fractional shares. I can't just buy a lump sum. I can't buy whole shares. Like, I got to buy a piece of a piece. Like, I don't like moving money like that personally. Now, I understand if you're getting it out the mud and you're just starting off and you're a zero account and like you only have X amount to throw in there, you have to do that. That is part of the process. When I first got into Bitcoin, that was the process. At no point in time have I ever just outright purchased a whole Bitcoin ever. I've never had enough money to do it. I still don't have enough money to do it. I will probably never have enough money to do that. I mean, granted, once these portfolios start working the way that they need to, I might be able to do that like once a year, shifting some stuff around, maybe. But Bitcoin's price is going up, so probably not. So there's levels to this. So there's certain things that I have to buy fractional shares of. But within my stock portfolio, especially the income portfolios, I don't like doing it because I generally don't have to. And so I got really spoiled on my income portfolio. It's kicking out over $1,000 a month. So I got a chunk of money I can deploy right then. And I'd rather wait the entire month and do that than be below my minimum. So the conclusion that I came to, especially after, jumping back down the rabbit hole on Ulti, I could have done this with LFGY as well, but Ulti has a better yield. It's also diversified. It's also actively managed. It's also hilariously stable. Like, I love the stability of the newly reformed RoboCop ulti. And so I was like, well, I could see that being effective. I could see the LFGY position, even though it's about 20% less in yield, I could see that being effective as well. But LFGY has a little bit wider variant swings, even though it's diversified. So ulti for me, I'm like, okay, you get the portfolio stabilization effect because at least the way that it's set now and the way that they've been managing it, whoever's managing that now, kudos to you. The strategy that you guys have in place and the flexibility you have seems to be working exceptionally well. So hats off to Yieldmax for that. So I was like, I want a weekly tied to a monthly. Now the deal is we're sprinting on the weekly because I want to get that up to $100 a week. That's my goal on all my portfolios. I'm like, if there's a weekly in there, I want it at $100 as quickly as I possibly can get there. Like, I'm like, get to $100 a week. So that way we can start moving this money and start making some moves. Because at $100 a week, I mean, like, that's going to cover some incidentals during the week if needed. And I mean, the goal of the Robinhood portfolio is the lifestyle portfolio. So it's like, hey, like, cool. Now you get to the weekend, you got $100 to play with. Obviously, it'll be more than that because we're not going to be deploying that in that sense for a while. But you still have that ability to where it's like, hey, this is what we're doing with this money. So pairing ulti with a monthly and you get to the $100. So like if I was starting over from scratch, which is what I'm doing in my Robinhood portfolio, is I bought 10 shares of the monthly that's going to pair with ulti. And then I will take the profits from ulti, the distribution every week, roll that in to hooy, which is my Robinhood base because that portfolio we're holding Robinhood over there. So we're going to pair that with hooy. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, depending on how well the performance is on this, I might just have both of these portfolios having 2 or 3 positions because there's no reason to roll out for no reason. But the cycle will be every week you buy hooy. Whenever the money comes in, whatever cash I deposit will go into ulti. And then at the end of the month, hooy will then, that distribution, whatever that is, also feeds into ulti. And that'll be my cycle. So like you're building up for that monthly payout, and the monthly payout goes back into ulti and then rinse and repeat. That way you got a little something to do. Well, for me, every Monday in the Robinhood portfolio. But in my income portfolio, I decided the same thing. I've already got the 2,000 shares of Misty being the caveat here. So the Misty shares will be used to deploy to pay off debt. My ulti, I already have it set to drip, and it'll be dripping until I get to $100. Honestly, it might drip longer than that because my ulti position, I've already got Misty in the range where I need it to be. Like, it should be averaging around $2,000 a month. So at that point, if I'm only going to have 2 things in there, then the next deal for me is to get that ulti position to where it's at least above 1,000 before I do my next position in there, which will probably be something crypto related. We'll see what offerings we have at that point in time. But you know, depending on where we're at in the bull run, because I feel like that's going to be a pretty long crawl to get ulti to $2,000, which even at 80% yield, like that's still a grip of money. Like I got to get another basically $40,000 in there. Because like if I sold off my Misty, I could have ulti at $2,000 a month and have that broken up through the week. But then I would have to buy back into the Misty position to get those 2,000 shares back. Because I think right now, with what it would cost to just purchase that right now at these rates, I would be looking at roughly, I think is basically like $40,000. So I would have like $4,000 worth of Misty shares left. And I was like, I don't want to do that when we're going into a bull run. I believe long-term in Misty ulti, I'm going to be watching. and if it drops 10 to 15%, from the price that I bought in at, not saying NAV erosion, but like if I take a 10 to 15% hit, I will dump it and then just roll that over into msty until I'm ready to come back. Or just take part of the msty dividends and start buying back in. But I'm only willing to take that much of a hit because I've been here when ulti has gone bad, and I'm not gonna make the same mistake twice. So that's my strategy. But I do like the weekly paired with a monthly. That makes sense to me because then you're getting stuff to where like, hey, random few $100 expense comes up, you have a weekly to pay for that, so I don't have to tap into margin and wait for the monthly to pay, and I don't have to like I just constantly have cash flow coming in. In regards to Howard, and I will have something similar set up in all the portfolios. Right now, Ulti is my favorite weekly. Like it never thought I would say that, but it is currently my favorite weekly. So that's where most of my weeklies, that's what it's going to be. I don't have to mess with it really. I look at it throughout the day. Like today we went from like 640 and the 640s back into the 630s. Since I'd been dollar cost averaging it in my Robinhood portfolio, all my buys are in the 630s. So that's awesome for me. And it's pretty stable from when I bought in. Like it's like up 1%, maybe down 1%. Like, and even when I started buying today over in my Charles Schwab, I bought a few $1,000s worth today. And I just put in a bunch of random buys. So I was like, well, it's going to probably be within these range. Hopefully some of these hit. All of them hit, both high and low. And I'm sitting at like negative 0.0 or negative 0.5%. So like a 0.5%, which is $25 basically for like what I put in there. It's down $25. And when I get paid on Friday, that's going to cover that. Like I'm going to cover that expense, and it's going to drip. So whatever price we have on Friday, since that's in the Schwab, I'm expecting to get that during that day. So it's going to buy that day also. So, it's for me, that's, keeping it simple. And honestly, if the wheel strategy works really effectively on that, then you can just cycle up until you're getting where you want to be. So like after my ulti position is where it needs to be. Once this debt's paid off, I can actually roll my msty profits into ulti to get that where it needs to be faster. That position, once it's finalized, that'll be $4,000 a month around averaging. And then we'll add another position because I am diversifying in the sense that msty, my goal was to get that to $2,000 a month. Ulti, now that's going to be the weekly, I want it to be around $2,000 a month as well. And then whatever third position I put in there, I'm going to, do the average on what it's paying out and then buy whatever share amount I need to hit 2,000 a month on that as well. And so it could be potentially imst because I could hold that's a long-term play and it's a semi counterparty to msty, something along those lines. And once it gets to 6,000 a month, like then we get to go, well, do we want to just deal with these three? Do we want to add another one to the mix for further diversification and see what that looks like? But those are decisions. But it's like my next phase, it's like, let's get that weekly to 2,000 a month. In my Robinhood portfolio, it'll be the same deal, like, except for we're using a wheel strategy because we're starting both of those basically from scratch. So our goal over there is to get to $100 a week with ulti, but we'll also be cycling that to just get that and that hooy position up. Because what I'm looking to do is I want to start buying out of my dividend that monthly share of Robinhood so that I don't have to kick over the extra money to buy that. And in my income portfolio, we're already at a space where I can just hash that out from my monthly share of Charles Schwab, which will be in the long-term portfolio. It's all that's in there right now, but we'll have that as well. And that's kind of the way that I'm thinking about it. And I think as far as decomplicating things, that's been one of the epiphanies that I've come through to in my year in high yield dividends. I'm finally starting to get my feet under me. Outside of msty, everything else has been up in the air. I know I'm going to have positions that I'm going to have to manage. The Robinhood portfolio, hooy's a natural fit over there because I'm buying Hood every month anyway. So I'm seeing how that stock is performing. I'm actually holding the underlying in the portfolio with it. So that's also a good following for me. It's like, hey, this is in alignment with that portfolio. So we're just going to make all of our money over there. I'm using the platform anyway. So there's volatility. It's volatility while stair stepping its way up a little bit at a time. We have up days, down days, but since I've owned the stock, it's only gone up. I buy a share a month at a little bit higher than what I previously bought, and then it keeps going up. So it's doing what I like to see done. It's got high IV, so it's producing income, and hopefully it keeps paying. It's a pricey income ETF, but so is Platy, and there's a few other ones that are pretty pricey as well. So you just kind of got to deal with it. But that's what we're looking at. I hope you guys enjoyed. We're going to go ahead and cut that there because that's the end of the thoughts. I don't even have anything to rant about. That's just kind of what it is. I'm sure you guys have been tapping in on the videos in between this one. So like this is something you guys already know, but this is specific to the strategy, the reasoning, the logic behind it. Like it's just, it seems more efficient to me. And we're going to test it for a quarter and we'll see. And if it's not, we'll make the adjustments. But I'm right now feeling pretty good about it. The results that I've been seeing are going to be pretty interesting, and having a quarter of actually doing that weekly to monthly wheel in the Robinhood portfolio is going to be a good case study. So we'll get to see what that looks like and, you know, how effective it is. And then, yeah, we'll revisit it. Probably going to be keeping it going. I mean, most of the stuff that when I've made major shifts, we've made it over a quarter with most of them. I mean, as long as the math is right. The only tweaks that I could see at this point is swapping out the weekly or the monthly. Like there's only two levers to turn, or speeding up the process in which we add the counterparts, which I'm going to try not to do because I like it to be focused. Things go faster when you're just focused, which is why in our Schwab account, we condense down as much as possible. I was like, all free sitting money. We're going to go ahead and make that our weekly position. So that way we get a good jump start on that. And as those paychecks come in, we'll make those adjustments. We'll also be making adjustments as we pay off these debts, because like if I do this strategy where I'm just moving over the debt, then we'll be adjusting our direct deposits from that point forward. Like that's going to be a thing also. So yeah, that's what we're looking at. Tap in with me down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. Am I crazy? Is this a W or an L? I do respond to all my comments. So looking forward to hearing from you guys. Till next week, people. This has been another good bag talk. It's your boy Reckless Ray De Niro. We're out. Peace.
Money on my mind. Yeah. Focus, got no time for games. Nah. I don't play, man, I'm all about that financial literacy. Investing in my future, building generational wealth. Dollar bills, they be calling my name, but I ain't chasing fame, I'm chasing change. Learn the game, now I'm playing it smart. Putting my money to work, it's an art. I'm stacking paper, building my own empire. No more living check to check, I'm getting higher. Investing in stocks, real estate, and more. Gotta secure the bag, that's what I came for.